Hey everyone, this is Jose Blasco. We are about to start in 30 seconds or so. Let's use this time for a quick sound check. A quick message on the chat box would be appreciated. A quick hello. That would be good enough. It will let me know, apart from your hello, that you hear me well, and therefore we're ready to get started. So all should be good. But again, always appreciated to have this confirmation before we start. In the meantime, I will turn on my video stream. I'll put myself in the bottom right portion of the screen. 5 seconds to go, everybody. So we are ready to get started here. Here we go. We are live. Okay, very good. It seems that sound is good. Thank you so much, everyone. Welcome to the session, everybody. Today it's December 28, 2020. It's going to be my last trading session of the year in the YouTube channel. There will be more sessions before the end conclude, as you can see on the calendar. But in my case, in my specific case, it's going to be my last one. So I would say, what a year! Okay, what a year! Amazing opportunities. It's been very, very spicy. And if you are new to trading, to some of you, it may have been a little bit of a scary year, especially earlier in the year when it was more volatile. But anyway, let's begin our session. Futures now. We're going to be dealing with futures markets intraday. We're going to be looking at commodities, equity indices, currency futures, treasuries, whatever market that allows us to do a trade that provides us with an opportunity that meets our rules, then we'll be ready to execute. Okay, so we'll be discussing those markets, those rules, the methodology, the setup, and when ready, we'll click the button. Of course, you are welcome to join me if you choose to. You don't have to, of course, and as well as if you decide to use real money, paper money, all of those are your choices. Which, by the way, leads me into the financial disclaimer that we have on the upper part of our screen. Let me highlight it so you can read it carefully. This is extremely important information, so please read it carefully, so you are well aware of the legalities around financial trading, which is what we're doing in the sessions. Okay, very good. So I would say the session is now officially introduced. Let's begin, everybody. Okay, so let's move into TradeStation. I didn't want to open that window. Here we go. So here is TradeStation, and to be more specific, I am now looking at radar screen. Radar screen being a table format that allows you to have many charts running in parallel without seeing the candles, without seeing the charts, but while the chart information is being processed and displayed in the form of a table, like a spreadsheet, if you wish. So in other words, I have all these markets being analyzed as we speak. Really, the ones that I'm going to focus or care the most are the ones that are on the left. Here on the left, as you can see, we have futures. Okay, so the ones on the left are the ones that I'm going to care the most about. And if I freeze the screen and I zoom in, more specifically, the ones that are 15-minute climates are the ones where I normally spend most of the time on. Why? Because we are meeting for 45 minutes. So, 60-minute climates, 240-minute climates, daily climates, they are great to trade. But given the fact that we only meet for 45 minutes, it gives me little opportunity to illustrate, demonstrate, execute, where normally 15-minute time frames allows me from time to time to execute trades, and you guys can join me, you guys can see it, and that in my mind has more value. The rules to be utilized for any other time frame will be the same. That at least if you trade like me, it would be the same rules that you would use in the 15-minute time frame. So again, I think it's probably the best way to approach it in these YouTube sessions. Okay, so notice we have an alert, near sensible short for the S&P futures. So without further ado, let's go ahead and open the S&P futures 15-minute time frame workspace, so we can begin the planning of this particular trade. Okay, you guys feel free to comment, feel free to type questions on the chat box. Let's be in sync. So anything that you have to say, go ahead and phrase it so I can give you the answers that you need in your development. Okay, by the way, the symbol I have saved the last time in this particular workspace, okay, this is a virtual machine I use for the coaching sessions exclusively. So this symbol, it's obviously a symbol that you don't want to trade any longer. For the ones of you that trade futures, you know that by heart. But for the ones of you that are newer to futures, so one way which is very convenient is to use a website such as barchart.com. There are more websites like that, by the way. They are free, and here, if I click on indices futures contract specifications, and I click on the S&P 500, so what's going to happen here is that it's going to tell me which one here on the top, which one is the symbol I should be trading. I always like to go ahead and confirm that the greatest volume and open interest is found in that specific row, and confirm the symbol from that row is the same symbol I'm given, which is almost always the case, but not always. Okay, so that's why I always double check. So ESH21, that is the symbol to be traded. So let me change that on TradeStation. So that way, now I have the right contract to be traded in the futures markets. Okay, very good. We got it here. Okay, good, perfect. So now let's begin the analysis. Okay, so the red screen told us, hey, go take a look at the S&P. It's a near sensible shorting opportunity. So now we get into the workspace with the S&P with the right symbol, and we are now ready to apply the method. So the method has us use the 15-minute time frame that we use for climate purposes. We call it the common time frame. Okay, for the ones of you that are newer to the sessions, so we call that the common time frame. Here on the right, which I'm not going to use, okay, but we have what we call the reactive time frames, okay, which those are optional. To keep it simple, I won't use them, but they're there, okay. And then on the top, these are probably the most important ones of all. Okay, we call them the edge time frame. Okay, they are those three charts are edge time frame. Okay, but notice that they are not exactly the same, because that one is a time-based chart, 2-minute time frames. Okay, the one below, the common time frame, was 15 minutes. Okay, and time frame has the word time in it, so you would expect it to be based on time, which it's the case of 15 minutes as well as 2 minutes. But notice how in the middle and the right we are using time intervals, okay, which are or time frames that are not based on time. They're based on quantity of shares traded per candle or quantity of ticks traded per candle. So if you don't know how this works, I would recommend you to watch some of the videos that we have on our YouTube channel on the sharpening playlist. So there will be videos that talk about special time frames and things like that. So go take a look. This will help you if you don't know what those time frames are all about. But basically, it's a way to look at the market which is not dependent on time, but instead dependent on trading activity, no matter the time it took for the trading activity to take place. And trading activity defined as number of trades as well as number of contracts. Okay, so share bars and tick bars. Okay, so anyway, so what are we doing? Okay, well, we are looking at the climate. Okay, this is the first thing that we're doing in the common time frame. And the climate is telling us, with a thick and red dot, the climate is telling us, how are you, Gary? Good to see you. The climate is telling us that this is a confirmed climate that is falling. It's a down climate, and therefore shorting gives us a statistical advantage compared to going long. Now, this is assuming the other rules of the method will be met, which we're going to see in a minute. But if the other rules of the method are going to be met, then we do have a statistical advantage by going short. In other words, going long would put you at a disadvantage from a statistical point of view, which you never want to do as a trader. Okay, so we are thinking short. In this process of thinking short, we have three values here. Okay, the value on the very left, we don't need to even look at it because that one has to do with going long. The value in the middle, it's the one we care the most about, which is 5.16. We round it up to 6. So 6 is the statistical duration of down climates, okay? And the question is that, knowing that it's a down climate and they tend to last, based on stats, 6 candles, 15 minutes each. The question is how long that climate has been in place already, and it's been in place for 2 candles. So in other words, if I enter now, I can still catch another 4 additional candles on top of the candle that is currently being traded. And that is, an hour plus, okay, which is, if I catch a 1 hour plus trade for an intraday trader, is probably nice, okay? So that's what we're doing, pretty short-term trading in this particular case, okay? So in other words, we do have a go ahead in this initial part of the process, looking for a trading opportunity, where, this initial part of the process is giving us permission to go ahead and trade. Okay. Now, for us to go ahead and trade, we concluded we only want to go short. We don't want to go long. And the next question is, okay, so if I want to go short, which price do I want to get short at? And here we are looking at our moving average exponential, MAE, also known as EMA, and we are looking at 3720.5, our reference value. So what you will want to do then is go ahead and look at 3720.5 on the upper chart, okay, and look for a red UFO located at this price point. And unfortunately, in this case, okay, it's not good, at least for now, because notice that while we do have red UFOs, they are located at 23, which is not 20.5, 20.7, which is what we're looking for, as we speak. So what should you do? Well, the answer is wait. Okay, we need to wait for the right setup to develop, which, by the way, if you were to only use time frames based on time, of course, then you will need to wait X amount of time for a setup to be approved, if you wish. But because we also have the share bars as well as the tick charts, okay, well, the reality is that the right setup, which in this case, the right setup, look at what just happened. A green UFO just formed. Well, instead of a green UFO, if it was to be a red UFO, okay, and it was located, at 3721, which is the current price, which is, that particular value, which is our reference value. So next thing you know, if a red UFO was to form there, then we will be ready to take the trade, okay? This could happen anytime, okay? It could happen 5 seconds from now. It could happen 5 minutes from now. It could not happen. We don't know. We don't know the future. So it's always good to get prepared just in case, okay? And if you think about my trade, for me to be able to execute, there are at least 4 parameters I need to know, which is my entry price, my stopping price in case I'm wrong, my target price, and then the size of the trade. Well, the size of the trade depends on the stop and the entry. And unfortunately, unless a UFO forms, I don't know where my stop and my entry is going to be. In other words, if I cannot plan my stop and my entry yet because I need to wait until the red UFO to show up, then I cannot plan on my size either. So out of 4 components I need to do the trade, which is again, the entry price, the stop price, the size of the trade, okay, and finally the target. So out of all those 4 components, there are 3 of them that are directly depending on the UFO I'm waiting for it to form. Notice, by the way, a green UFO just formed there. So, we may not have the red UFO that we are expecting. We may have a change of climate, which is against statistics, but it could happen, especially because it seems that large pile of orders are being added to the market, as we can see. So we'll see what happens, okay? Because again, orders can be canceled too. So, the chart will tell us, the UFOs will tell us what to do. We are just in waiting mode. But going back to what I was saying, out of 4 parameters, there are 3 I cannot have unless a UFO forms. But the last one, which is the target, that one is a parameter that I could indeed go ahead and find. So let's do it, okay? I'm just gonna go ahead and maximize my common timeframes because we look at targets on the common timeframe. I will activate AutoUFOs, and the rival UFO, which in this case is green, which is in this case is located at 3710. Okay, that would be my target, 3710. So it's 11 points below price. So it's not too far. It's far enough. So nice one. So let's see if in the end a UFO forms or doesn't form. But if it does, we now know our target. Okay, I'm just going to write it down here, for example. So our target would be 3710. Okay, so I have the number there. So later, if I have to rush, that information is ready for me. Okay, anyway, so let's keep going because I am in waiting mode when it comes to the S&P. Okay, so if you were to only trade the S&P, you just wait. That's it. Of course, it's more efficient to trade multiple markets, so you don't have to wait that much or force trades. So I'm just going to move to my red screen to see if anything else is flashing, which at this moment in time, nothing else is flashing. Second ago, though, you may have seen it, I had a flash on the Euro contract, but I'm going to ignore it, even though it's not flashing anymore. I'm going to ignore it because it has the word hopeful. Okay, hopeful means that the climate has been extended by 9 candles, where statistics suggest it's going to be 5 or 6. So in other words, that market went too far too fast, and entering now, it's kind of against probabilities. Okay, so the S&P seems to be, as of now, based on the 15-minute time frame climates, that would be the only trade to be taken. Okay. Now, of course, we can also look at 60 minutes to 140, and that's indeed what I'm going to do if we don't find any other trade, because I want to take advantage of these 45 minutes with you guys and add activity as much as possible, if possible. So I'm back to the S&P first to see if any of those UFOs has formed. None of them has formed. Let me take a look at what's going to happen too, because in 1 second, here we go. Look at that. So no trade, guys, no trade, because look at what just happened. We just got an update on the climate since we reached, I just froze the screen, by the way. So we just hit 10:15 a.m. in New York. So the 15-minute time frame gave us a new candle and notice what AutoClimate is now telling us. So the climate not only went from red to blue, but the worst part is that it's a thin dot. It's not thick, it's thin. And what thin means is that the climate is not confirmed. So in other words, you don't have a clear statistical advantage by going long the S&P, and therefore, not only we were waiting for a red UFO, now actually we need to wait a full 15 minutes of time to see if the climate either redefines itself to the downside or confirms itself as being blue. For now, it's an unconfirmed climate. Okay, it's thin, and therefore no trade. By the way, on the red screen, the unconfirmed climates look like that. You have a gray box under climate. That's the S&P. It's unconfirmed. Okay, and by the way, we do have a new opportunity, which is with crude oil. So let's go ahead and open crude oil, and let's see if a trade setup will be available for us. As I was saying earlier, it's critical to use the right contracts. I showed you what happened to the S&P. Well, when we deal with commodities such as crude oil, we got so many more expiration dates. Sometimes commodities have expiration dates every 1 month. Not all of them, but many of them, all of them have many more expiration dates compared to the indices. So in this case, we are looking at G21, but as I said before, I always like to reconfirm and double check where is the greatest volume in open interest and confirm this is the same letter, which again, today it is. So G21 is not always the case, keep that in mind. So G21, so at CLG21, okay, that's the symbol I want to use. So I am reloading this one. And now that I'm reloading this one, so we're going to start planning this trade. It's funny because we have a very similar setup to what we had earlier on the S&P. So you are about to hear me say very similar things. So first, on the 15-minute time frame for crude oil, we have a confirmed climate to the downside. This is candle number 1, where statistics suggest it's going to be 6. So in other words, we are just entering, if possible, this market a bit earlier, which is great. In the case of that climate propagates, we're going to reach a further away target. Okay. So looking good so far. Now, in other words, our mindset when it comes to crude oil is right now, short term, we want to go short. We don't want to go long in a down climate. Okay. So what are we going to do? We're going to look at the reference prices, 48.32. Okay. And with those reference prices, we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to be looking at the edge time frames around 48.32 and look for red UFOs. Okay, look for red UFOs. Okay, so what's going on so far? Well, no red UFO is present. So what do we need to do? We have to wait, because as you saw earlier, anytime UFOs may form. In that case, with the S&P, notice that we had a change of climate. So the UFOs that formed were green. We needed them to be red. They were actually green. That's what happened in the market. We cannot change that. We can only adapt to it. So in this case, similar story with crude oil. We need a red UFO to show up somewhere here around 48.32. Okay, so we are in waiting mode, waiting for this to happen. In the meantime, the only thing we can do is to get prepared, and to get prepared means to find out where a potential target would be, which in this case would be that green UFO located at 48.01. Okay, that would be the location for the target, 48.01. and we can certainly make a note of this. So if later on we have to rush, then that information is already available and we don't miss the trade. Okay, but we cannot do anything unless a UFO forms. Okay, so target 4801. So I got my note made. Okay, and I'm just gonna be waiting for that UFO to form. Okay, I'll make more comments about this because also 11 minutes from now we'll have an update on the climate. So not only when the climate updates, not only the climate updates, also the EMA. So I'll make a few more comments later on to help you always to, while you don't want to be predicting and betting on what's going to happen and having a bias and expecting something to happen that hasn't happened yet and kind of see the future, which again it's it's a very, it's especially if you're a new trader, it's a big temptation. Look at that, a UFO just formed. Okay, you see they can form anytime. So that UFO, it's 48. Look at that, another UFO here. So 25 to 31. Okay, 25 to 31. So indeed, our reference value is 30. So we are in a good place for us to take this trade. So let's do it. I'll come back to my comments later on. Now I don't want to miss the trade. So I'm going to go with 2 contracts, selling 2 contracts at 48.24 with the stop located at 32, which is 1 tick above. Okay. And therefore my safety target is going to be 17. Okay. And then the final target, 01. Here we go. So here's the trade. Okay. Oh, by the way, I just made a mistake here. My entry should not be 31. My entry should be 21. Okay. Yeah, 21. So let me readjust all of this. So 21 is the entry. My stop is still 32. So we are talking about 10 will be the safety target and 48.01. That would be the final target. Let me explain all of this properly now that I have the trade on. Okay. So, of course, it's pretty clear we are relying on those UFOs to enter the trade. Why? Because those UFOs are likely going to push the price in the direction of the climate, and the climate, statistically speaking, should develop. So we may be catching a very powerful turning point that may be the origin of a continuated move, and we want to ride such move. But of course, we can be wrong. So what we do, we add a stop on the other side of the UFO just in case we are wrong. What else do we do? Well, we can see, for example, price come to the UFO and have a reaction to it, and then after a while hit that green UFO, for example, and then turn and change the climate. So what would happen if that was the case? Well, it would happen that for a while you would see yourself profitable to then end up with a loss, which is a pretty unfortunate type of outcome after seeing yourself in a profitable territory. We just got filled, by the way. We are in the trade. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen now. But after you have seen yourself profitable in a trade, getting to see yourself in a losing position, it's certainly not ideal. So what do? We are adding a safety target, which is the one located at 48.10, where I'm going to close half of the position, and therefore, if I make half of the profits with half of my position, I make I travel the same distance with half of my. Let me rephrase that one more time, if you don't mind, guys. If with half of my position I travel the same distance in one direction and the same direction in the opposite direction with the other half of the position, so I'm going to make X amount of money and I'm going to lose X amount of money, which in this case is I'm going to make plus 110 and I'm going to lose minus 110. So I would be breaking even. Okay, I would be breaking even. And therefore, while I've seen myself in profit for a while, then at least I would not end up in a losing position. Okay. This trade is not looking too good, and the reason why I'm saying it is because a green UFO just showed up there. So it seems that the sell on field orders are being executed on field and removed, while buy on field orders are being added. So this is not a very healthy thing for our trade, but at the same time, we have the climate in our favor. Okay, so something that I have not discussed, which I have to now, is that the other thing that we always do when we do the trades, precisely in case what's happening happens, okay, it's that we also add time stops. Okay, so let me try to be as visual as possible. So what is a time stop? A time stop is a stop that you will execute manually in case the market that you expected to move in your direction didn't move in your direction fast enough, quick enough, and didn't reach the safety target efficiently. If the market didn't reach the safety target efficiently, it's probably because the climate is changing or about to change, and therefore you want to get out before you get hurt. Okay, so this trade could be the case, especially now that we see the green UFO here. That's really a very bad sign. Again, it doesn't mean anything until the end. Okay, we're not gonna get emotional and change our plan. We have a plan, but again, certainly part of the plan is the time stop. So notice that when I got filled at 10:24. So the rule I use for the time stop is to use 3 candles. So this is candle number 1, this is candle number 2, and this will be candle number 3, okay, which concludes at 10:28. So in other words, at 10:28, okay, I am 1 tick away from my stop. So it's really looking like I'm going to be stopped out in this trade. But if I was not going to be stopped out and I reach 10:28, okay, and I have not reached my safety target, then I will want to close the trade manually. I'm not going to do it before out of emotions, okay? But if I do hit 10:28 and I didn't hit my safety target, which is located at 48.10, then I would want to close the trade manually. Because again, the climate has been challenged, okay, and then we are in a difficult position. Notice how in the chart in the middle as well, another green UFO showed up. So all of this, certainly, it's not healthy. I mean, could you see the market just keep going and the climate propagate and new red unfilled orders kick in? Yes, anything could happen. That's why we're still in the trade. But the reality is that those two green UFOs are very much against what we need the trade to do. So let's see what's going to happen. In the meantime, no emotions, just following rules. And our rule is asking us to wait until 10:28. So we got a minute and a half to wait. And we will see what to do. We will see what happened and what's the final outcome of this particular trade, okay? So just waiting there. I'm just going to stay on the screen. I'm going to have a sip of water if you don't mind. So just waiting here, guys. Another 1 minute and let's call it 10 seconds to go. Okay, and again, the moment we have the closing candle at 10:28 New York time, we will close the trade manually unless we have reached 48.10, which is our safety target. So less than 1 minute to go now. As we said, not looking too good. But at the same time, the climate is there, guys. It's candle number 1 on the climate. And what tends to happen in a down climate is that sell on-field orders tend to be added and buy on-field orders tend to be canceled. So don't be surprised if you see the green UFOs to go away. Don't be surprised if you see red UFOs to show up. At the same time, we are not going to hope this happens. And if we reach 10:28 and it hasn't happened yet, we will get out of the trade and we can always replan a new trade on crude oil or any other market. But we are not going to stay and hope. We have rules, we follow the rules, we don't anticipate, we don't break the rules by exiting sooner or not exiting when the rules tell us to exit. But certainly, we do that. Okay, so 5 seconds to go. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, 0. I'm out. So this trade lost us $80, which again, I would say it's a good way to exit the trade, given the fact that 2 green UFOs showed up. Potentially, we're going to have a change of climate. We'll see that, in 2 minutes to go, 10:30. We will see the update on the climate, and we may have that, a change of climate, and then we'll be very, very happy to be out of the trade with only $80 of loss instead of 220, which was the risk of this trade when we got in, okay? Anyway, so let's continue. I'll come back later out of curiosity to see what happened on this trade. But in the meantime, back to here. And to be honest, back to here, the only opportunity that we have flashing for us is the one with crude oil near sensible. Okay, so again, out of curiosity, I'll take a quick peek at the S&P. The S&P, which now has a confirmed climate. Okay, it was not confirmed. Now it's confirmed. So again, in 1 minute or less, we're gonna have the update again, and we can start planning trades on the S&P. With crude oil, we're gonna see what's gonna happen in just a sec. I'm just gonna wait here because really it's only 45 seconds to go, so I'm just gonna wait So we satisfy our curiosity. And by the way, if it's still red, then the trade setup is still valid for us to re-enter a trade. Now, the one thing we don't have is red UFOs. Okay, red UFOs around 48.32. That we don't have. So then we would need to wait for this to happen. Okay, we will need to wait for those to form the same way it happened earlier. Okay, but right now we don't have them. So ready to re-enter, but no need to rush. Okay, so 15 seconds to go. Let's see what the climate will be. If the climate changes to blue, then those green UFOs that we discussed are actually opportunities to re-enter in the opposite direction. Okay, here we go. Well, look at that. The climate is still down. Okay, the climate is still down and still confirmed. Okay, our reference price is 48.3. So really, we are exactly where we were before. Nothing has changed really from a statistical point of view. Still there, and therefore, I mean, not exactly there because the one thing that has changed is the fact that we don't have any red UFO in none of the timeframes. So basically, being in this trend now would be way too hopeful, isn't it? Because you don't have the underlying force that pushes prices. Okay, at least so far. Okay, so we'll see what happens. I will come back later to see if a UFO forms. If a UFO forms, of course, the target that we said earlier, 48.01, is still valid, and I'd be delighted to re-enter this market. Not a problem. The fact that we lost $80 in the prior trade doesn't mean I'm not going to trade crude oil today. Okay, that would be emotional decisions. Okay, we don't do that. Okay. Anyway, so what else do we have here? We have a couple more flashing alerts with the euro and gold. Now, notice the word hopeful. Okay, so 10 and 11 candles in this climate where statistics suggest it should be 6 or 5. So this market have been moving double of what it should have been moving. So not too appealing to enter those trades. And therefore, I'm going to go back to what I have, which is crude oil. No red UFO yet. The S&P, I'm just going to close that one because it went so far away. So I would wait for the red screen to give me an alert, okay, for me to re-enter. And yeah, and the other things I could do, I could certainly look at the euro or the 10-year note in the 60-minute time frame. So that I could. So let's do that. Okay, I'm going to look at the euro 60. And I'm going to have to change the symbol to be H21. Okay, so ECH21. Here we go. So what do we have on the euro? Well, on the euro, as you can see, we have a confirmed climate. Climate is confirmed. And the reference value is 46. And therefore, that guy meets the rule, that guy meets the rule. So indeed, we have a valid entry there to trade the euro. Okay. Yeah. So let's go ahead and plan a trade on the euro on this particular time frame. I'm just gonna go ahead and turn on AutoUFOs to find my targets. Well, notice I find nothing above. Okay. And if I move to a daily time frame, you may understand. Okay, so the euro has been moving higher and higher and higher. So if I load more data, right, if I load, this is 2 years, let's say I load 5 years of data. Okay, so now finally I get to see UFOs here. So again, the euro is very high. Okay, and yeah, so I'm gonna have to load plenty of market data, actually, to be precise, all the way to September 2018 to be able to get my UFOs on the 15-minute time frame, because remember, I am trading the 15-minute time frame here. Sorry, not the 15, the 60-minute time frame. Sorry for that. 60-minute time frame. So I will need to load so much data, okay? So much data. And I'm not going to do it because, I mean, I could, but first, it would take a lot of time because it's going to be a lot of data and we're going to have to wait. But second, this is an intraday trade, what I'm planning. and therefore I want to be out of this trade before I want to be out of this trade before the end of the day, and therefore a far away target is not going to work. It will work for a swing trade or something like that, but it's not going to work for a quick intraday. Okay, so what am I going to do? Well, I'm just going to set, either a random target, targeting those highs, maybe 75 or something like that. It could be one way to do a target. But the other way to do the trade is to not to set a target. And instead of setting a target, just trail stop, trail stop, trail stop, and see how far price goes. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do on the euro. Okay, so the entry price for the euro trade would be 122.49. In this one here, we are looking at 49.2. So here's going to be our entry price. Okay, the stop needs to go below 45. So below 45 is going to be 44.5, which is right there. Okay, so I got my entry, stop, and safety target, and then here on the top I got the final target. So that one I'm just going to cancel it. Okay, I'm just going to cancel it. So with my remaining position, once I reach safety target, I will just be trailing stop, trailing stop, trailing stop, like I just suggested to do. Okay, so we're going to be looking at this. Of course, this is a 60-minute climate, so nothing's going to change until the top of the hour. So here you got 25 minutes to go. We will conclude the session in 10, but just know that this is a 60-minute climate, is a little bit of a more relaxed trade, if you wish. Anything new on crude oil? No, nothing new on crude oil. Nothing new on crude oil. So you can see how the climate is being challenged now. The green UFO is gone, but still we don't have the red UFO. And again, if you have stayed on this trade, really price went kind of nowhere. So could it work? Yes, but certainly it's a lot of hoping, if you wish. So again, let's wait for a new red UFO to form, which could happen anytime, and then let's re-enter this trade on crude oil with more odds and evidence on our favor than what we have now. Okay, the Nasdaq is giving us an opportunity. Okay, so while we're waiting for the euro trade to happen, we'll be looking at the Nasdaq, which is probably going to be the last trade that we analyze in the year. Wow, that sounds like a big statement, isn't it? So NQH21, okay, we are looking to short. Okay, so I'm gonna pass. Let me tell you why. Okay, there is a trade, but we're not gonna take it. Okay, so why is that? Well, the climate is 4. Okay, 4 out of 5. So it's time to take the trade, and the direction will be short. The reference value is 791. And 791 falls inside that UFO, falls inside that UFO, falls inside that UFO. So, well, if you have so many UFOs all lining up, it's all beautiful. It's kind of like a book trade. So, Jose, why did you say you're not going to take the trade? Well, the reason why I'm not going to do it is because the vertical distance, it's large. And furthermore, that little space there would probably have you set your stop on the very, very top above 04.5, which, by the way, is the same value as 04.5. So in other words, you have so many points. So look, if this is my entry and this is my stop, because it's very wide, my safety target is going to be just as far. Okay. Instead of, let's pretend the trade I'm taking. Okay, let me do that again. So let's pretend the trade I'm taking was to be with that. And by the way, the red UFO is gone, so definitely no trade. But let's pretend the trade that we are taking was going to be based on this green UFO. So this is your entry, and below is your stop. So your safety target is right there. So if price comes here, turning and reaching this is very doable because it's quite close. So that's a safety target. But if your UFO is a wide one, which that we cannot change because it's market data. So if your UFO is wide, then your safety target is far. And therefore, it's not acting as safety, it's just acting as a target. And that's not ideal. And therefore, my choice here is not to take the trade. Okay, so we are in the trade here on the euro. Okay, so we got filled. Yeah, okay, so again, it seems that a little bit of Murphy's Law there, but we got a red UFO that just showed up. That UFO was not there before. So kind of the same comment that I had earlier for crude oil. It's in the opposite direction. Earlier was a short, this is a long. But a little bit of the same rationale. That red UFO may be problematic. So again, as always, without the radio 4, to be honest, we are always ready to use our time stops, isn't it? So the time stop in this case, notice, would be based on 3 candles, but the time frame is 8 minutes. So it's not 3 times 2, it's 3 times 8. Okay, so this candle concludes at 9:40, the next one at 9:48, the next one at 9:56. So in other words, if from now until 9:56 the euro did not turn and reach the safety target, then you have to close the trade manually. Of course, during that time, you may get stopped out. And then if you're stopped out, then of course you're out. That's it. No need for a time stop because you're out. Look at that. Another UFO just showing up here. So again, not a good sign for the trade. This is not healthy, guys. Okay, this is not healthy. But again, we stick with the plan. We don't get emotional because as you saw earlier, in the end it turned. And again, the climate is blue. That gives you a statistical advantage. The EMA may add on field orders, so you may see a green UFO show up here. Okay, so we need to be exposed to risk to attract or capture those rewards. We do it with the odds in our favor, and during the life of the trade, the odds may remain constant and strong, or the odds may decrease a bit. But if you were to take decisions to get out of the trade in an emotional manner, probably that will not end up well. Okay. Let me give you, I need to have a sip of water if you don't mind, guys. Sorry for that. I have a very itchy throat for whatever reason today. So while I was having a sip of water, we just reached the stop loss of the trade. So this is not the time stop. It's just the protective stop that we set all the time. And therefore, this trade just got, his maximum risk obtained. And that's it. There's not much more to say about it. Just the fact that, when we reach the top of the hour, you are likely going to see a change of climate on the euro, more red UFOs kicking in. Again, this is never enjoyable to be stopped out of a trade. But at the same time, these are the times where you really appreciate to have a stop, because you don't want a whole change of climate to hit you and not to be out when that happens. Okay, so we would be out as soon as possible, knowing that we don't have a crystal ball and we don't know the future. The methodology got us out for the least amount of pain as possible, while so many red UFOs are showing up everywhere. And again, it's possible at the top of the hour that you may see a change of climate and you'll be happy that we're out. Okay, cool. So back to the Nasdaq. What do we have? Yeah, no red UFO yet, and I already made my comment before. With the euro, we are out of the trade, so nothing else. Oh, look at that. Crude oil, a new UFO just showed up. Time to re-enter crude oil, my friends. 48.28. Okay, it's indeed inside this UFO. That UFO has an entry price of 21. It's the same as before, funnily enough. So we are just going to re-enter 21 with a stop at 30, bringing our safety target to 12, and our final target is 48.01. Okay, this trade is actually better than the other one because the UFO is narrower, and being narrower, our safety target is nearer. So if price comes to the UFO, okay, and the climate and the on-field orders kick in and everything goes according to plan, reaching 48.12 should be quite easy. I'm not sure it's the right word, but easier. That one is indeed the right word. Easier than before. Why? Because before we got more distance. Okay. Again, we cannot change that because that's market data. All right. So we cannot change the market. It's either you decide to take the trade or you decide to pass, which depends on your rules, risk appetite, trading style, trading personality, etc., etc. For me, that's absolutely fine. And I got the order in. Okay. So we're just gonna wait a little bit. Hopefully, the session will conclude in 2 minutes. Really, we're about to conclude the session. Hopefully, we get filled before that, so I can at least give you instructions when it comes to the time stop, so you can run the trade yourself. And certainly, with this amount of time, I'm not gonna plan any other trade. So this is the last trade that we're gonna be planning or executing today. I'll give you one last instruction as we reach 10:45. But in the meantime, before we reach that ending time for the session, guys, any question? You've been very, very quiet today. I know as well that being holidays, we ourselves have been running less sessions in the channel. You guys, many of you may be watching this recorded next year after you're back from some down time, vacation time, family time. Well deserved, I'm sure. So well done to take it easy in the market when it's time to take it easy. But at the same time, for the ones of you that are here with us today, don't be shy. If you have any question, just phrase it on the chat box so I can help you with an answer before the session concludes. Okay. Now, I said I was going to give an extra indication as we reach 45, which is going to be like in 11 seconds. It's going to be 10:45 in New York. We'll have an update on the climate, right? And so what's going to happen when the climate updates, okay, it's that we're going to have a new value for the EMA, okay, which currently is 20, now is 24, okay? Now, it was 29 earlier, I believe, or was it? I'm not sure now, but now it was 24, now it's 25. So again, it's still inside the UFO, so you are fine. But there may be cases where when you have an update of the climate and the EMA moves, then a trade that was valid in the prior 15 minutes is now invalid in the next 15 minutes, okay? So in this case, the trade is still valid, and therefore it's absolutely okay for you if you follow the methodology that I use. It's absolutely okay for you to execute this trade again using real money, paper money, larger size, smaller size. Taking the trade or not is obviously your decision, but certainly if you are a trader using this methodology, the rules are met, and therefore the trade is valid, including after the change of or the update on the common time frame when we reached 10:45 a.m. in New York. So, my friends, we are done with the session. Again, it was my last session of the year. Not amazing performance-wise with two trades, and none of them actually went our way today. My friends, that's trading. Sometimes you get multiple winning trades in a row. Sometimes it's going to be multiple losses in a row. In any case, what matters the most to me, at least, is that you understand the process, you see it in action, you get your questions clarified. So all this time where we are not in the channel running any session and you are practicing by yourself, you actually know what to do when you practice instead of you have doubts about the rules of the methodology. Okay, so at least this is a key intention from my end when it comes to assisting you and helping you in your development. Okay, but anyway, you guys keep up the good work. Anything you need from us, shoot an email, use the Q&A page, get in touch with us, anything, guys. Okay, just count on us. We are here to help you. And certainly looking forward for more training in 2021. 2020 has been really, really powerful, really crazy as well, at a personal level for millions, millions of people in the world. And certainly it's been reflected in the market with peaks of volatilities that, were greater than what we have seen in 2008. So my friends, 2020 has been amazing. But again, also looking for a bit more, let's call it normality in 2021, especially not thinking about the market, but thinking about people and hopefully health, vaccines, normality, being able to hug your friends and family members and sharing a little bit the love with, closer and less social distance. That would, I'm sure, be appreciated by all of us. So hoping that this is going to be the case, and you guys take care. Enjoy this later part of 2020. Have a good end of the year, and make 2021 count. Count on us. See you soon, my friends. See you next year. You guys take care. Bye bye, everybody.